In today's video, we're gonna learn how to beautifully drape cotton sarees. Now this cotton saree is super soft and it's not as puffy as the super starched ones. And so I think the only thing I would do differently for a starched cotton saree is maybe go over the pleats in the front with a hair straightener or even iron the pleats in place prior to draping. It is super cold in Canada and it's cold most of the year, so I don't grab my cotton sarees as much, but when it's summertime here or when I'm traveling, cotton is the most comfortable fabric to wear, especially when it's super hot outside. Undergarments are also super important. Today I'm wearing the Saree Silhouette by Bhuva.com. This fabric is chosen specifically for its comfort both in cold and hot weather. We've had our customers tell us that this is actually more comfortable than a lot of the cotton underskirts that they wear. So definitely choose something that's gonna keep your drape intact. I'm wearing a crop top also from Bhuva.com, and that's all you really need. Let's get started. For cotton sarees, I like pleating the pallu. It just gives that extra bit of structure for an otherwise very hard to manage fabric. So I'm just gonna lay it over my ironing table, and then you want to determine the width of the pleat you'd like and then grab the fabric in that width as you go. So grab approximately the same spot on both ends and start pleating. So for cotton sarees, I like to take super thin pleat just because it's easier to manage, I find, and it looks just neater. It's a little trickier with the cotton saree. If you get this part right, your drape will look beautiful. Okay, so I have a few pleats here and I've already lost some. I recommend doing this as you go so you don't lose them. You don't lose all your hard work. So I have about 4 pleats. I recommend doing this like every 2 to 3 pleats. And once you've pinned it, you can continue pleating, knowing with confidence that those pleats aren't going anywhere. The thing with pallu pleats is that they don't all need to be the same size, so don't worry if they're not. Learning how to do it properly is like, oh, they all have to be the same and they all have to be perfect. No, it just needs to look like they're perfect. Okay, once you have your pallu, you're ready to start draping. We're gonna start with the other end, not the end that we pleated. Now, if you're wondering, this is the actual blouse material for this saree. I don't ever stitch the blouse that comes with the saree just because it gives you that much more space, that's much more fabric for pleat, and it gives you that extra length. And so I try whenever possible not to detach it and make a blouse out of it. You could just use blouses or get blouses that will match most of your sarees. All right, so that's why this is a different color than the rest of the saree, but it's gonna go on the inside of your drape anyway, so no one is going to know. Tuck it in as we go, and cotton sarees usually don't have a lot to tuck in, but you still wanna make sure that it's as flat as possible against your body. All right, so you want to take the other end of the saree, all right, and wrap it around, wrap the pleat closest to you around your body, bring it to the front, and then just tuck that in here, and then start taking your pleats. And you want to start a little bit to the left of your belly button and start pleating. I have a video on how I pleat. You can check that out. I'll link it here. It's super easy and blends for beautiful pleats that are all the same size and look amazing. I'm stopping here. What you want to do is you want to position the saree like this, and then you want to make sure that the pleats end so you have enough fabric, just like maybe like a foot from your belly button to where the pleats, so you don't want it to be more, you don't want it to be less, like you don't want it to be up here, you want it to be about this length. So like a foot from like your belly button to where the pleats end. And then I'm just gonna take these pleats, shake them out. This saree is not as puffy or starched as a lot of cotton sarees are. So at this point, if you want to take a hair straightener and kind of press them down, you can. I'm not going to for this saree because this is not that starched, but a lot of starched cottons will be super puffy and super hard to handle. So you wanna make sure that the pleats look neat. And so at this point you can just do it. Just take your hair straightener, imagine this is your hair straightener, and just like go down that like that. And then I'm just going to stagger these pleats ever so slightly so they flare out nice and beautifully. So what I'm doing here is staggering them, but also kind of creating like a line this way so that you want your pleats to kind of flare out. That's gonna give you that beautiful shape where it's like goes in and then it flares out at the bottom. So I'm happy with these pleats. I'm just gonna take one of the pins from my pallu and pin it together. I'm actually gonna pin it right to the skirt because as you can see, I'm holding it here and I don't have that much to tuck in, and the saree is not very long. So I'm just gonna pin it right to the skirt. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna let them drop. And then now we're gonna work on our side pleats. So what you wanna do is bring this around your body, and you can put a pin here and then take the pleats. I'm just gonna take the pleats as is. So just guide the fabric and take pleats and kind of like gather them at this point. And the reason you want to do this for cotton sarees is because cotton sarees aren't going to stay if you just kind of pull them and tuck them. This gives it that extra. Okay, and then I think I'll just take one more. And you can take as many or as few as you want. You just want to make sure that you're bringing them all tight against your body and gathering them here. Once you're happy with these pleats, you just want to pin down all of the pleats to your skirt, so you know that that's not going anywhere. Okay, and you have that beautiful sculpt going here. This beautiful shape, like hugging all your curves here. And then you can start pleating. This pleating method, I have a video on it. You can check it out. I'll link it here. It is super easy and quick once you get the hang of it. So I have a little bit of fabric here. I'm just gonna leave that. I can bring it up and tuck it in afterwards. If you do have a little bit of fabric and you can't quite get another pleat, don't worry about that. Just leave that, shake out your pleats. If you are draping a super starched cotton saree, I would say at this point, take some time to maybe iron these down with a hair straightener. I'm not gonna do that because this is a pretty, I mean, it's a little puffy, but not too bad. I'm just gonna stagger these pleats so that they fall beautifully, ever so slightly. So the reason I stagger them is because you want to have this nice shape here, but then you want it to flare out at the bottom. Okay, and once you're happy with how your pleats have turned out, you can pin them all into place. Because this saree is pretty short in width, when I go to tuck it in, there isn't very much to tuck in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pin it to my saree silhouette. You can put this pin on the inside, but it's gonna get covered by the pallu anyway. Why not just be safe and do that? So that now it's pinned. What I'm gonna do is, remember I said like there was extra fabric? I'm gonna pull that, and what that's gonna do is, so your pleats here, they're not gonna move, but you can kind of take this and still tuck it in if you have extra material, because it's going to sculpt the rest of the saree at the bottom. Okay, and then I'm just going to tuck this in, and then I'm going to fold this forward and tuck it in, and I'm going to bring the pallu. You want to make sure that you are pleating your hip pleats and pinning it like we did, so that you still get that beautiful shape here, regardless of how puffy it is at the bottom. And this saree is not a super puffy saree, but you can see it's already puffing out. So if you don't like this look, I quite like it. I like that it's kind of more voluminous at the bottom, but if you don't like that, then you can definitely take a hair straightener or even an iron prior to draping and kind of press it down so it's not as puffy. The other thing is, for cotton sarees, I like to take my pleats thinner than I normally would, just because it allows me to pull it really tight, allows me to kind of shape the right side of my body, but while still looking very structured and gives it a nice shape. You can definitely add a belt to a cotton saree, but I don't think it's entirely necessary, just because a cotton saree is meant to be worn more casually, but if you drape it properly, you can still get that nice shape and look very structured. I hope you guys found this video useful. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Leave any comments or questions in the comment box below, and I will see you in a future video.